I'm excited to be here with Satyen today. We're looking at really interviewing people that can really take things to the next level. You've been mentoring a lot of elite, business owners in the, over decades now, and there's a lot of stuff that's different that's happening in Canada right now. Can you maybe give me some insight of what you have or what's happening with leadership and what have you?
We're in a leadership crisis around the world.
Okay.
Canada is one point of that aberration of being way out of alignment with the power, the clarity of enlightened leadership.
Mm-hmm.
We have no enlightened leaders anymore. We don't have any leaders around the world who have done the work deep enough on themselves, on their shadows, on their psyches,
Mm-hmm.
have healed the parts of them that are acting out in egoic ways, narcissistic ways, power hungry ways, or overly weak or overly strong, not coming from the center of their own clarity. They've been propelled into these positions by antagonism with others.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally they win. And so now, even when they win the most highest seats, now they're getting antagonized for the rest of their term about every single thing that they're doing. It's based on an antagonistic system. Now, all the systems of leadership that foster leadership that we have, from governmental to business leadership,
Yeah.
CEOs of companies or presidents, prime ministers of countries, just think about how much antagonism have they've had to go through, receive, and wield,
Mm-hmm.
and what that's doing to the psyche of them.
For sure.
The
For sure.
psyche starts to break down, the psyche starts to weaken, the ego gets stronger, a new face is formed so that the ego structure looks strong, looks like they know what they're doing, saying the right thing in exact ways, being politically correct,
Yeah.
double speaking, Orwellian communications, trained in this art, cultivating the art of side communication, or not giving a clear, exact, truthful picture and direct answer. People don't really tune into the psychology of being, of what's going on for years around this. Imagine a group of delegates of their own party. They all have to now be fighting. Let's say there's 5 of them fighting for the top position. So I have to look. You're my friend. We work together, but now for this short period of time, I got to look for your dirt. You got to look for my dirt.
Yeah.
I got to look for where your faults are and then point them out in dialogue. And you got to look for my points and point them out in dialogue. So imagine a system that's going on like that. That's psycho-emotional reputational warfare. Now, let's say you win amongst all us 5. Now, all of a sudden, we're magically all good friends. We're working together. Now you're my fellow party.
Yep.
The same thing that's gone on here is going on in another camp in the same way, where 5 of their people are fighting with each other to get to the top position. And now the top positions, these 2 will now have at it. So a movement of antagonism. We're done with you. So now we need to have someone new. The someone new says, I'm someone new.
Yep.
We're going to correct the wrongs of this buffoonery. And so what happens is, psychologically, people get caught up now looking at the great cycles. This is happening every 4 years, every 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over and over again. So whoever gets voted in now, by a huge round of applause and thank goodness, and wow, we need to move on from that, they'll be in that same position in a few years. It'll continue to go on. It'll never shift.
It's a cycle going on.
It's designed that way.
What do you see as an enlightened leader? What does that really mean?
An enlightened leader is someone who is on point with the true self,
Okay.
who they really are. They've done the inner work to excavate aspects of themselves and to heal shadows regarding sexuality, power, money. They've healed these realms within themselves, so they're not acting from their ego or defense mechanisms or attachment mechanisms.
Yep.
They're coming from a higher order of consciousness, a deeper heart place, a more connected place to the benefit of the whole. An enlightened leader, recognizing that they are individual and in service to the whole, and that the whole is not separate from them. An enlightened leader recognizing that their inner disposition is the core, their inner depth of being is the magnetism that calls influence. And from the honesty of your intent and the total follow through and impeccable execution of what you said you're going to do, and you do it.
To full integrity.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
From within and without.
This morning I was, going through my phone and looking at a number of different things, and I saw this crazy meme of Donald Trump looking at his phone, and on his phone he's got Panama Canal, he's got Greenland, and he's got Canada, and underneath has got add to cart, proceed to checkout. So it's quite funny that he thinks he's shopping around and can do whatever he feels like. And also he's called it the imaginary line between Canada and the States, yet he has 50 independent states that all have imaginary lines, which is quite funny. So I'm quite entertained by him. So do you think we'll become the 51st state of America in Canada?
Well, first of all, he is an entertainer.
Completely,
All right, he's been an entertainer for many years in on TV shows, and so he has that entertainment cultivated zeal of appeal that he knows how to evoke, and that's become part of his personality structure ever since he's young.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so that's the way I receive that part of his panache of his own being.
Yeah, but the funny part is, he's got all our politicians hopping on hot coals just by simple statements.
That is the joy that he's having, the humor.
Completely.
He's having the humor. Of course, Canada is not going to be the 51st.
No, it's not. Of course
Okay,
not.
that's not in a long shot. What I sense he's obviously getting at is to remove all the tariffs, to have it like an EU where there's a European, like a euro as an example,
Yep.
to have a North American currency so that the restrictions between our trades are, really dissolved dramatically, if not fully,
Mm-hmm.
and so that both countries prosper. There's great possibility in that. That is an opportunity that both countries can have if they have conscious enough leaders who care about the whole and aren't lining their pockets with deals and handshakes that will transpire to great contracts in other worlds. USA and Canada, we're cousins, we're neighbors, we're
Mm-hmm.
family, we're living together on a huge continent. We have so much exchange with each other on so many levels, cultural, obviously economic, and goods and services
Mm-hmm.
and such. It's okay to hold our sovereignty. And at the same time, it's okay to recognize that what if we all individually, start saying no to antagonism?
Mm-hmm.
Start saying no within ourselves. First of all, we're taking responsibility that it's never about anyone else, that my vehemency is causing a counterbalancing force, not supporting the outcome I wish. It's actually deterring it. It's sabotaging it. My vehemency, my anger, my this politician, my this, look at them and all of that. And I can't believe it's our own personal energetic suicide. We don't even realize it.
Trudeau has stepped down as the leader of the Liberal Party, eventually be gone as Prime Minister of Canada. What do you see happening, like in terms of where he's at, what he's done, where he's going?
So first of all, he handled things too draconian-like, far too draconian-like, with all the things that happened regarding protests, regarding COVID and such. Extreme draconian measures were taken. Canadians don't need draconian measures. Another one is the feeling of that whatever you're saying to him is glancing off and not being addressed, and then something else coming out based on an agenda, an intention. Every communication, there's no reception fully, only a facade of reception.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And whether we know it all, not on a cognitive level, on an intuitive level, we can feel, many of us can see and feel that hey, you're not really listening, you're not attuning. And why he's not attuning and not listening? Because he's operating out of a fixed state of being, fixated state of consciousness. It's not coming from his true self. It's just a fixed state. And from that fixed state operating, and people feel that, they know that. So you can't trust that in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Only if you disassociate from your gut and listen to the words and get drunk on looks and communications that are crafted in ways that always elicit belief, always elicit your enrollment in some way. It's a communication style. If you're cut off from your body intuitive sense, you'll be englamored, you'll be clamored by that. You'll be like, wow, whoa. And that's where adherents come from. They're distuning from their own soul's knowing, cutting it off, compartmentalizing it, and then listening to someone else's zeal and seeming authority, energy, or figureness,
Mm-hmm.
and then they give their power away to that. When we start to look at leadership as a God gifted opportunity, people gifted
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to be the ultimate servant. We're the ones that give that position the power. The power has nothing in it intrinsic. There's no power in being the Prime Minister of Canada. We are the power granters. And so that humble holding of this mantle of responsibility, we need to have our leaders go deep into that, what that inquiry means. We need to have that as foundations to become any political leader at any political level in our government. The soulful responsibility, the clearing of our karmas regarding power, regarding our egoic need for power or egoic need to diminish our power, one or the other. It's an egoic aberration of our true self.
When we get our next prime minister in here, into Canada, what would your advice be to that prime minister in terms of this is what you need to do to bring the Canadian community back to truly being a community of support?
Be a leader for everyone, not just the party that you stand for. Now, this is easier said than done. It's entrenched. The whole system is designed to continue to prop up your party, your policy, your directive at the same time while you nod down, press down, and chide the other side.
Mm-hmm.
What if you stopped all of that? If that leader would say, I'm not playing that game, I am now the leader of the people, which means I don't care if you didn't like me beforehand, I am still now in as much service and love and care and well being to you, wanting to know your pains, your sufferings, your strifes, your challenges, and why you didn't vote for me. I want to understand that so I can speak to that too. And obviously, follow through with your word to what brought you into power, what granted you the gift of your position, your seat.
Mm-hmm.
Make your word law. If you were voted in for something, follow through with all of that with clarity. That's why people gave you that auspicious seat, why they gave you that responsibility, and why
Mm-hmm.
you took it on. Put out an agenda as saying, look, here's what I promised. This will be done by the first month. This is done by the second month. This is done by the third month. And if I miss any month, I resign.
Wow.
You make it so that everyone goes, what? That you win back the mistrust of the general public. That is the huge contagion virus we have in our society is almost nobody trusts politicians. Politicians don't trust politicians. I wanted to come back to this, who could be the next prime minister, Mr. Poilievre.
Mm-hmm.
If indeed he becomes the next prime minister of Canada, my advisory to him as a guy who works on the psycho-emotional, spiritual dimensions of leadership, first and foremost would be start to relax the acidic, grating sandpaper nature of your retorts. Soften the front surface of your body, your face, your throat. Soften your heart, and especially your heart area.
Mm-hmm.
Soften your solar plexus, soften your belly, soften the whole front surface as if you're not in the armored defense position, but you're in the receptive, old wise man.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to fear, nothing to defend, nothing to knock down, only eloquent statesmanship, only impactful clarity, which he can evoke and bring forth. But this part has to soften, that caustic irritator, the one that wants to lash out and put a little arrow in his words, in his voice, even in his expression of even winning an argument.
Yeah.
A wise, enlightened leader doesn't even need to care to win an argument, shows no happiness when he does. In fact, feels the sadness that his truth landed so deeply that it's actually causing a waver in that person. There's a sadness if it was done even with too much harm or too much sour or too much acidity. Even if you felt you delivered that much, what degree of compassion can be cultivated in him for that's emanating in his being? And so I would take him through compassion awareness. I would do nothing with his intellect and his development of that. It's brilliant. His understanding of political circumstances, geopolitical ideas, his ideologies or his ideologies. I would not want to have any interference in that. But the softening of the front surface of your body as the first inner practice allows him to attune to the energy field of those he needs to be with, for and against his now policies and his intentions and his actions, and allows them to start to resonate more. It'll lower the friction in the people all around him. It'll make him more available, and people will feel that they can even align and trust him even more, and that he's got their, not only does he got their back, he's got their heart.
I love that. I wanted to really start to think about, people are starting to talk, there's lots of people out there that are fearful that there could be a World War III coming down the pike here. What's your advice for viewers in terms of how do they handle that fear? How do you help them with that?
First of all, World War III is a reality. It's a possibility.
Yep. Okay.
It's around the corner. So it's valid. Most of the fears we have around governmental collapse, financial collapse, environmental collapse, there's 1,001 confronts to this planet, our life, our fragile life. So first of all, allow yourself to go crazy even more in the fear. Allow yourself to panic right to the frickin' core.
Cool.
Right to the core. If you have probably been restraining, suppressing somehow how actually crazy it is, and to try to live in a world we're at the precipice of collapse on many fronts, week to week. Some personal, some financial, some relational, some at a macro level. I've worked with folks who are doing the calculations regarding the calamities on the planet and existential threat. There's scientists and there's sociologists
Well,
working on how to deal with this. And some of them have come to me. They were trained in the psychological intensity, the craziness of looking at stats that are showing that the world's on its way out as we know it. And the denial of that edge, of that reality, that death is on our doorstep, is what keeps the world of illusion fed. Is the denial of that. It's the cognitive dissonance. I don't want to know about it. I want to entertain myself. Give me sugar. Give me fat. Give me bread. Give me lifeless TV. Give me all the things that will take my attention, grab it away from the finality of death around the door, around the corner. We want to distract ourselves to avoid death, not recognizing distraction is the death of life.
wow, that's a powerful statement.
But in a moment, we can turn it around. In a moment, we can say, I've had enough and I want to come back to what's truly meaningful. I'm open to that. I want to start the journey of becoming my own sovereign, my own warrior. And that desire and that evoking your energy to pull yourself out of that tornado or whirlpool of attention seeking, of grabbing it, you put that back onto you, holy jumping. It's like the universe starts to favor you, energy comes back to you, the mystery starts to awaken within, and that mystery starts to take over life. And that's the life we're meant to live.
So many people are so distracted, and they don't realize they're distracted from their own life.
They've siphoned their life over to that which is anti-life. And it's when we're able to face imminent death and we look at it and we face our mortality and we allow ourselves to feel it to the core, we feel all the images related to death. We don't hide from it. And then what happens is you fear naturally less. The fear of death starts to fall away. And now it becomes more of a dedication to your life. You start to liberate yourself from the fear.
Wow, it's been interesting, man. We've covered a lot today. I love your opinions. I love the different things that the viewers can, take away from this and go, you know what, those nuggets of information, not necessarily take action on, but just ponder. So what do you believe could unify Canada, in your opinion?
My dream would be to have gatherings, events of the order of Canada Strong, where we have all types of Canadians come and express and communicate with each other.
Mhm.
If there's political division topics at times, left and right are invited. Liberals and conservatives, as an example, can be invited. And we mix them up and we share. What do you believe in? What do you believe in? And why do you believe in? Why? We want to make it understanding sessions,
Mhm.
not debates. These are experiences where Canadians can come to understand each other. And when we understand each other, we're Canada strong. When we have greater understanding, we don't have to agree. The beauty of our own uniqueness is we don't have to agree, but we can understand. It's our understanding of each other which can help us harmonize. Okay, I might not agree with part of that. I agree with some of that. I have my own stance around that, but I understand where you're coming from. And your mutual understanding of my understanding of me, my motives, my values, my stance, and my understanding of yours allows us to harmonize, allows us to become friends, fellow citizens, people who care for each other, that hold each other strong, Canada strong. So that's one of the dreams I have, that gets
Beautiful.
organized. We have a great country. My parents were immigrants, originally from Uganda, Africa, of
Mhm.
Indian descent. We moved to England for a few years, and Canada was so welcoming and open to us as immigrants. My parents were business people. They started businesses in Canada. This has been a great country for myself. I grew up in an apartment building where I had every nationality, every uh, ethnic group in this apartment building as a
Welcome to
boy.
Canada.
And I loved it. When we wanted to eat at Mrs. Girgenti's home, we'd have Italian food with Marco and his brother. And when we wanted to go to Jamaican food, we went to another friend's house. When we wanted French Canadian food, we went to Madame Borel and we went
Madame, I love
right.
it.
And so I had this joy of really getting the beauty, the power of Canada, and this connection between all peoples,
So cosmopolitan.
and that we cared for each other. And that we merged and we hung with each other. We didn't isolate from each other. We enjoyed and we got to understand each other. And I think that's the greatness of Canada. And we're not done. We're going through our phase of wisening and coming back to our nature of unity. We've always stood for unity. We've always been a high expression of unity on the planet, one of the highest people think of. And we will return to that with even more magnificence when our leaders, first of all, demonstrate that they're willing to be the most humblest gatherer of all the people in understanding. And that way you become the greatest servant, make the biggest impact, you make the biggest wave in destiny.
Wow, what a great way to end this. Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.